Well, today is not going to be a typical video as usual. Normally I'm dressed up and, I'm looking good and I have a very prepared thing that I've been thinking about for like a full week that I talk about and stuff. And I had that for tonight. I actually had a full thing planned to talk about that's totally different than what I was going to talk about, or what I am going to talk about now. I was going to dress up for it, I was going to look good, I was going to feel good. But something happened tonight and I ended up doing something else tonight that made me change my mind. And I'm not very prepared for tonight, and it's going to be more of a rant. I've been piecing this together for like the last 30 minutes, but I felt like it was important, so I'm going to share it. So as you can see, I am wearing working clothes, and my hands are very green. They're covered in grass clipping juice. So where I just came from is this guy that I go to church with. Unfortunately, I think he's in his, he's got to be his late 50s or early 60s. His name's Carl, and he just got diagnosed last week, I think last week. But anyway, he just got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, which is terrible, for anyone to hear. It's just a terrible, terrible thing that is happening to him. And so he's been super sick, obviously, and he's a little bit older, so he hasn't been able to keep up with his house and with his property. He lives on probably 2 acres of land, and I live in a more rural community, so he lives on 2 acres, and a lot of it is grass. And and it's been there's been a lot of rain this spring, and so everything's just growing like crazy. My grass got pretty out of hand. I've already mowed mine twice, and it's been pretty long. It's been hard to keep on top of. But he hasn't been able to mow his at all. And so, it was just getting totally out of control. And he, so I know him from church, but he actually doesn't ever really come to church. I've never seen him in our church. He just, believes what we do. And so we just know him that way. He lives in our area, so we just have, I've been to his house a few times just to get to know him a little bit. He's just been in really poor health for a long time. So nobody really knows him, is my point here. So nobody in my church actually knows him very well. But he's been struggling. He's been sick, and and he's always been able to take care of his land and stuff, and he's just been sick. And I don't know if pride had anything to do with it, or if he's every day he's just thinking, man, tomorrow I'll be able to do it. Tomorrow I'll feel better. I'll be able to do it. But he just hasn't been able to get to mowing his lawn and taking care of his property. And so he sent a text to someone else who I know from church saying, I'm really sorry to ask this, but I really need help. I just got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I feel, I'm feeling really sick, and I just haven't been able to mow my lawn, and it's getting out of control, and I need help. And so this last Sunday in church, this came up, that he needed help, that we needed to go take care of his stuff. And so all these people started raising their hand. It was just like, man, we made the plan really quickly. We just said, okay, on Wednesday at this time, on Wednesday at 6:30, so tonight at 6:30, everybody meet at this place, and then we're going to go to his house and take care of his property. And as many people that can show up, the better, because we can get it done faster and just do better. And also, we need as many people as we can to show up just to support him, just to show him that he has people that care about him in this scary time. And so that's what we did tonight. So we met over there at 6:30, and at first it was just 3 of us for probably 15 minutes. It was about 3 of us. First, it was the guy that he texted, so he showed up first. The problem is, though, is that guy that he texted has his back has been thrown out for like 2 weeks. So he's walking around, can't even really do anything, can't even bend over. But he just showed up to be there to support him, and he had a shovel and he was doing some stuff and a rake. And then me, so I was the second guy that showed up, and I brought my lawnmower and I brought my weed eater, and we just started working, And then shortly after, another guy showed up. And so there were the 3 of us for probably 15 minutes, and it was this grass. It was so tall, and it was wet and thick, and there's probably, so he lives on, I think, 2 acres. There's probably an acre and a half, maybe a full acre of grass, and it was a ton. And so we just had these 2 little push mowers, and it's it was probably 14 inches, and I'm not exaggerating. The grass was probably 14 inches long, and so thick and wet, and like you'd push, you know, the length of your lawnmower, you'd push it like 3 feet or something, and then it would want to die because it was so thick, and it would get all caught up in there, and we were just struggling, and I was getting nervous. Like, man, this is, it's like I don't even know if we can do this tonight. Like, I don't know if we can, you know, at the rate that we were moving, it would have taken, I don't know, 3 nights, 1 full entire day or something to get it done. And I was worried that nobody else was going to show up, and I was getting frustrated. I was like, man, why are all these people volunteered to be here? They said they'd be here, and they're not. I was getting really frustrated because so the burden was not only on the person who was sick and had cancer, but then the burden was getting passed to, and maybe that's a really selfish way of thinking about it, but we were happy to be there, but many hands make quick labor, you know, and so it was frustrating, like seeing it passed on to a few people. You know, the guy who has cancer, you know, he couldn't do it, so then it gets passed on to these few people who showed up. And anyway, it was just frustrating. I didn't think anybody else was going to show up. But slowly, people started showing up until we had about 10 people there. And it didn't take long for all those people to show up, so it shows you how patient I am. But they did, so they showed up, about 10 people, and it ended up only taking us about an hour and a half to knock out his whole thing. And it was hard work, and we all did it. Like, you know, we were all just working and sweating and going as fast as we could to get it done and take care of this guy, take care of Carl. And I just started thinking about this, how, anyway, so the topic of this video is ask for help. I just wonder how many times we don't ask for help. What if Carl didn't ask for help? What if he just would have, you know, said, oh, like, I don't want to inconvenience anybody else. I'm just gonna, you know, I'll deal with it. I'll get to it, or I won't. I'll just ignore it, and because I don't want to inconvenience anybody else. If he would have done that, I can't imagine in one more week, if one more week had passed, I don't think that we could have mowed his lawn with anything other than like a tractor with, you know, huge things. I honestly don't think it would have been physically possible, because we could barely even push our lawnmowers. We could barely even get them to go 3 feet without binding up and dying on us. So if he would have asked for help 1 week later, we would not have been able to help him. And so I just started thinking about that. Like, man, how often do we not ask for help? It happens to me all the time, where I, just by the nature of what I do for work, you know, I'm always moving heavy things. I often end up moving heavy things, and my neighbor next door, I'm too prideful to ask for help. My neighbor next door will see me, you know, about to break my back carrying this super heavy thing or fall over or whatever, and him and his son will run over, and they'll just jump in. They don't even ask. They don't say, hey, do you need a hand? They come in. They just help me. And I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to work on asking for help. But so my thoughts tonight kind of revolve around that. Like, we need to ask for help more often. Every single person on earth needs to ask for help more often. Because here are the facts. Because here's the thing. People are willing to help. Everyone's willing to help. If my neighbor asked for help, I would go help him immediately. I wouldn't think twice about it. I wouldn't say, oh, I have this other thing to do. I would go help him if he asked for help. If any of my neighbors asked for help, I'd go help them. You know, I just would. Like, answer honestly. If someone came to you face to face, or they called you or something and said, look, I'm in this really tight spot and I need help. Now, if it's money or something, that's different. But like if Carl, you know, I don't know Carl. I honestly, I don't know Carl. I've met him once before tonight. If a guy like Carl gets diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, okay, calls you or talks to you or asks you, says, look, I hate to ask, I hate to inconvenience you, but I'm really sick. I'm dying, actually, and I can't mow my lawn, and I just can't. Can you please help me? Would you say no? I don't believe you would, and I don't believe that anyone would. You know, humans, I believe that humans are good, and I believe that when someone asks for help, people are more than willing to give it, to offer it even. And so we just need to ask for help more often. That's it. And so kind of what I was thinking was, I just wrote this up here really quickly. You know, this wasn't like a premeditated thing, but just this principle, that human struggle and suffering multiplies exponentially every time someone says no to helping. Let me read that again. Human struggle and suffering multiplies exponentially every time someone says no to helping. So on Sunday in church, when we were talking about Carl and him needing help, the room that this was presented to was full of probably more than 20 people. I'd say probably closer to 30. Probably closer to 30 people. And so in a group of about 30 people, 10 showed up tonight. And this is not by any means any kind of like slander against the other 20 people in that room, okay? It's not at all, because every single one of them could have had other things to do. You know, they could have had a family to take care of. They could have been working tonight. They could have been this or that or whatever. Had their own struggle. So I'm not judging them or criticizing them at all for not being there. But of the 10 people that were able to come tonight, that did show up tonight, I just started thinking, it's like, okay, if the three of us, so the first guy that was there with his back that's hurt, couldn't really do much work, and then me and the other guy with our 2 little lawnmowers, I was trying to figure out, I was like, man, how long would it take to be there? Probably a full day. Like literally probably a full 8-hour day we would have been there mowing this guy's lawn. And then as each person showed up, the workload the workload was lessened by whatever factor it was lessened. Every time a person showed up, the workload was lessened by a significant factor. So then I started kind of thinking about it backwards. Okay, well, if it took 10 people 90 minutes to accomplish that task, and by the way, I am by no means a mathematician, so this is probably wrong how I figured this out. So if you want to criticize me, fine. The point is, for every person that didn't show up, the workload increased significantly. I said exponentially. I don't know if it is actually exponentially. My math is wrong, whatever. The point is, the workload would increase for every person that didn't show up. So 10 people, it took 90 minutes. And that's how I was like, okay, well, what if one person didn't show up? Or what if one less person showed up? So it was 9 people. Well, then it would have taken 9 people 99 minutes. If every person equaled 9 minutes. I don't know if that's right. But say 9 people show up, it takes 99 minutes. Say 8 people show up, it takes 108 minutes for everyone. And then just keep going down, adding 9 minutes per person that didn't show up. Again, that might be the wrong way to do the math. I don't know. But if it just would have been us 3 at the beginning, it would have taken so much longer. And the human struggle and suffering would have multiplied for every person that didn't show up. So if instead of 10 people showed up, the human struggle and suffering is passed on to 9 people. So by whatever factor this is, if only one person didn't show up, the other 9 people had to suffer more and had to struggle more to accomplish the same task. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. Like I said, I just put this together in my head. So there were 10 people there, it took 90 minutes. What if 2 people less showed up and only 8 people were there? Then the human struggle and suffering would have multiplied and would have been increased on 8 people. So for every person that didn't show up, the human struggle and suffering increases. For every person that did show up, it's lessened. And I just wonder, I don't know why I'm thinking about this tonight, besides, that experience was, I don't know, I just had time to think, I guess, while I was pushing my lawnmower. But I just think we need to ask for help more often. And when someone asks for help, more people need to say yes to helping. For every person that says no to helping, the human struggle and suffering increases. For every person that says yes when someone asks for help, the human struggle and suffering decreases. So here's what I'm asking you to do. When you're struggling, when you're suffering, please ask for help. Ask from anybody, ask from strangers. If you don't have immediate family or friends or whatever that can help you, ask your neighbor. I guarantee you that if you're really suffering and struggling, that they are going to help you. And they're not going to think twice about it. Because I believe that people are good and they will jump to your aid if you really need it. So that's part 1. So when you need help, ask for it. Please ask for it, because people will help. I promise you they will. And then the other part is when help is asked of you, when someone needs help, and whether they actually say it or you see that they need it, help. Say yes. Because the human struggle and suffering multiplies every time someone says no to helping. So say there's someone that needs help, right? And they ask 2 people for help. One of them says yes, one of them says no. So there's a person that's suffering, that's struggling, that needs help. Now their suffering and struggling is passed on to one person, and so there are 2 people carrying the load, because one person said yes, so there could have been 3 people carrying the load. It's always easier to have an extra person helping carry the load. So just say yes. When someone needs help, say yes. When you need help, ask for it, please. Anyway, I know this wasn't very glamorous. This wasn't a super well put together thought. I just, while I was dirty and just came from that and had put those thoughts together, I thought I'd share it with you. My only hope from this experience, from sharing this experience, is that when you need help, that you will ask for it, and then when someone asks for help, you will give it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it, share it, subscribe, please, and pass this message around. I believe it's a good one, and that it will help benefit anyone who hears it. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jake the Wilkins.